We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us, talking about community dialogue, racial justice, the big event that's by invitation only on Saturday, but I think that hopefully that'll open up things and there'll be more to come after that. With us this morning and who are involved with this through the mayor's office, Michelle Hernandez-Lane. She's Metro's diversity officer, and then Lonell Matthews with Neighborhoods and Community. And I wanted you to comment. When we went to break, she shared her thoughts on maybe what some of the hurdles were and what the biggest obstacles are here in Nashville to making change. What do you think in the neighborhood?
So some of the things we just heard from the last caller, accountability, what does that look like, racial profiling,
you know, and let me
some
just
of the
say that,
around.
I'll let you say that, but the accountability, I meant to mention this after he said it, because I caught that too. And I was just thinking, you know, when we were looking back at the Baton Rouge shootings, you know, which horrible, the 3 officers, but they were looking at the department and the issues that, you know, stemmed from that initial shooting, and then they looked that there had been some 30+ complaints of excessive force against that department in the year prior. You probably have heard this, and not a single disciplinary action or crime charge against the officers involved. Now, who knows? Maybe they looked into them all and they were all clean. Somehow, I don't buy that. That's a problem. So when you talk about accountability, and I don't know what it's like with Metro, and I certainly see the chief has recently put several officers on administrative leave for, frankly, posting foolish things on Facebook in the aftermath of these shootings. But that kind of accountability, if you're sitting there seeing this, 30 complaints like this of excessive force and not a single, you get the sense that this fraternity that is not going to hold their own accountable. At least that's what it looked like in Baton Rouge.
And with our local police department, I don't think that's the case, but I think that we as government could do a better job of being transparent with what accountability looks like, and letting the community be able to see that and experience and know that there's some level of accountability that is present. And I think that's room for improvement for Nashville, or for any city, quite frankly. And there are other cities that are doing it well. There are other cities that are doing it not. We have cities that we can learn from, and we have cities that we don't want to become, and all of that. Some of the other things, though, that we're starting to hear built out of racial tension has nothing to do with policing.
Absolutely.
Also, we're hearing about gentrification and what's happening in our communities. We're hearing about what's happening with labor and workforce and making sure that opportunities are available to all. And so these situations, they bring attention to the issue that race there's an issue with race relations to some degree in every community. But how do we deal with that, knowing that we're working on these other issues, and some of that is systemic, and how do we get into the system? We make sure that policies and procedures present opportunities for equity. That's what we have to work on. That's the responsibility that we have in government. And Mayor Berry has made it very clear with how she structure her office, the priorities that she's put in place for affordable housing, workforce, labor. These are things that she came into office saying that I want to address. I want to find solutions for, and I want to work with the community to push Nashville forward. And I think the overall theme is shared prosperity. Nashville's seen a lot of prosperity. How does that happen for everyone?
Everybody,
to the
right
county
now,
line.
The feeling among some, probably, and you're going to hear that on Saturdays, that they feel excluded. Like they're out. They're not benefiting as they see all this other growth coming about and the financial rewards that come with it. It's not being shared across the board. That's kind of what you did before you took over this office that she created, was in terms of making sure that minority contracts were handed fairly, correctly?
Yeah, that is. I mean, prior to this role, I worked managing the city's procurement diversity efforts. And ensuring that we were making every effort to provide opportunities to all types of businesses, minority-owned, women-owned, small businesses, in terms of being able to vie for contracting opportunities with the city. And you know, I would often hear that, you know, the city was just kind of giving out contracts, which doesn't happen, and that, you know, only certain people were able to compete for those contracts. But we, I think, have been relatively successful in creating very purposeful programmatic approaches to ensuring that everybody has an equal opportunity to compete for contracts. And so we've seen relative success with that work.
That's great, because you'd say in a perfect world you don't want an office like that. I mean, if I'm running a show and in a perfect world, which we know we don't have, when you have a contract, okay, you put out a bid and you end up going with whoever gives you the best price, who you're convinced can do the best work. And that should be it, okay? But the fact that we have an office is that there is here and in other communities the perception that because of the color of your skin, you may not get a fair shot simply because of that. You may indeed have the best bid, and you may be the best at doing that job, but simply because of that reason, your ethnicity, you may be denied that contract.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, that's just, to me, just so crazy that that's the way it is. But
well,
it is.
Some people do feel that those efforts are not warranted or necessary. The argument that I would lodge would be if the playing field was level, and we didn't have those discriminatory acts and preconceived ideas about the quality of what you present and your ability to really perform because of what you look like. Or the gender that that you have, then we wouldn't need those offices, but we do. And until which time we get to this perfect society you talked about, I think that we're going to be there. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are good opportunities for us to learn from a variety of different tactics, like our procurement diversity work. We're going to be focused very intentionally also on our workforce diversity, putting together a very robust and purposeful approach to promoting diversity, not just in the police department or in the fire department, but all across Metro. And the issue there is that, we serve a very, again, diverse community. And there are some things that we could and should do to send a message to the community that we value you. We know that, you are different just by virtue of, being born in various countries and et cetera, and you bring a unique set of specific needs, and we want to reflect that also by having a very citizen-focused system of service delivery. And so where we can promote the diversity of perspectives within the departments of those folks who are delivering services, we want to do that as well. So we have a lot of work to do, and Mayor Berry was very aware of that coming into office, that we had a lot of work to do, which is why she created this position. But I think that having that leadership strength that we have in her and this commitment to working toward that diversity is important, and will be the fuel that makes this diversity initiative really run, and make it go. So
yeah, you get the sense she's going to be committed to it. It's not something where it's just going to be window dressing.
Absolutely.
Which is great, and I applaud her for that. Let's go to Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, before I started listening to you all, I was thinking this is pretty much a problem in search of a solution. But now that I've listened to you, I think it may be a few points, but 15 years ago, there was no such thing as a diversity officer or community organizer. That would have been somebody that, like maybe when I was younger in college, we went around Southern Illinois helping people out with their power and electric bills. So it was like Illinois Public Action Council. So maybe it was something like that. But I don't know. I just don't see that big of a problem in Nashville. I mean, percentage of minority officers perhaps could grow, but if you look at some cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Atlanta that are a super majority minority, they're just rife with corruption. So you got to be careful. Nashville's doing well. I don't want to say don't rock the boat, but I don't know. I think things are going well. I mean, maybe they need some more programs and such. But I'd like to ask the lady on the left what her typical day is, what she does on a typical day. I'm not sure what her job was before this. Yeah. And the gentleman on the right, I really can't understand what he's saying. So,
what do you mean? What do you mean? Just
you can't hear me?
You can't hear him, or you don't understand the point he's making?
Well, I don't understand what his point is. It just seems like a bunch of phrases that.
The neighborhood point is what he's coming from the neighborhood perspective. Now, the thing about Brian is there's going to be other people like him. That's his perspective, you know, and that may show up there. There may be some that attend this meeting that, based on what neighborhood they're from, they don't perceive it as being a problem, right?
And that's what we want. I mean, we want people from every part of the community to come to this with their perspective, but we also want those perspectives to be put on the table and shared so that other people can see what other people are experiencing and have an understanding of what that is. Because I could take Brian to some neighborhoods where people will say differently that there definitely is a problem, and I face it every day, and I have so many barriers and walls put up that I can't get to opportunity. And so we need both perspectives in the room. We need them talking to each other, and we need them to understand each other, because that's how we start to change behavior. And this is rooted in years of systemic policy, procedure, and just history in this country. I mean, African Americans have an ancestry that started with slavery, and we were brought to this country, and it took generations to get us to the point we're at now. It's not a silver bullet that's going to turn it around, and the national conversation is not going to avoid Nashville just because we do nothing and sit around and don't talk about it or have conversations about it. We have to address it, or it's going to come smack us in the face.
Yeah, and to that point, Mayor Berry's been clear that, you know, we may not see the finish line of this process immediately, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be undertaking this process so that we can have a meaningful dialogue. I think the important thing as it relates to Brian's comments is that, you know, his perspective is valuable, and it is something that should be at the table and should be part of that dialogue. I think the balance to that is that, you know, he has a perspective. There's a different perspective or different perspectives. There has to be a willingness to listen to each other and to take down the walls and not be just completely stuck to, this is my perspective and this is the way it is. You have to have a willingness to come to a mutual understanding, which is what makes the design of these sessions so unique and so valuable. Because otherwise, if we don't go in with an open mind, with the idea being we're going to try and come to a mutual understanding so that as a community we can heal and we can make sure that we're moving in a positive direction together, progressing together, then, you know, it really kind of flies in the face of what we're trying to achieve. So I think, you know, he's got a valuable perspective. And what do I do on a day-to-day basis? That was part of his question. You know, I'm looking at a variety of different things. You know, I'm looking at how we communicate with each other's employees, with the community. I'm looking at what the makeup of our workforce looks like. I'm looking at who we're buying to, what kinds of...
Do you take complaints in your office? I mean, will you take, I mean...
That's my office. So all constituent services come.
What kind of calls? I'm just curious. I mean, it's...
Well, I'm painting a picture of both sides, and we hear it from both sides. I mean, the protest that was on West End the other day, we heard people commend the police for allowing the protests and the protesters for what they were standing for. We heard from people that were sitting in traffic also complaining about, you know, why are they allowed to keep me from getting to where I need to be. And so it's really finding that balance to take both of those perspectives and say, look,
that's exactly right.
We have conflict. Let's talk about it. Let's move to action and move to a solution.
You've had a lot of calls on that. Do you sometimes, I don't know, within your realm as diversity officer, if someone wants to call, I mean, you take calls from folks who feel they've been victimized somehow by racial discrimination. Do you get those yourself to your office? You probably get some of those?
Well, you know, I get phone calls, I get emails. People who see that Mayor Berry has taken a proactive step in creating a position that is focused on promoting diversity, and they've got, you know, experiences and history and issues that they want to talk about, and often through the course of those conversations and reading in emails what some of their issues are, I'm able to say, okay, this really is best presented to the Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement, or it really is best presented to the Metro Human Relations Commission. But at the end of the day, we want to create an environment and make sure that folks have the sense that they're being heard, and then working with them toward a solution to the extent that we're able to do that.
All right, let's take a call from Tony. Hi, Tony.
Good morning, Dick.
Good morning.
What I'm trying to figure out is, I know Minister Walker has been a great assistant, a great outspokesman, liaison for this city between the mayor and the public. And when he get groups together, different authorities and people to talk to bring them together, that's what he's been doing. I have yet to see anybody from the mayor's office, such as this liaison man, Matthews. They don't even come. We got a bad road over here on Gallatin Road. It took it over a month to pave. It's tore up cars and everything. They don't even want to talk about that. And the second thing I want to say is, when you come to that diversity, just cause you up in that position, that don't mean you understand. You can't understand people unless you grew up around people to relate to these people. You can't talk over their head like these ladies right here doing. You got to be able to relate to people. And you have seen the housing, you have seen this city go up and down You're still dealing with the rich. You're not doing for everybody in this city. When you got people sleeping in the graveyards and can't get a home and can't get an apartment, something is really bad. These big cities, they don't have stuff like that, like New York. So I don't understand why y'all keep on saying, well, we need to do more money for the Titans, and you can't even get a home for these veterans like myself and the rest of the people. You can't even get apartments built for that.
All right, bouncing around on that, but you know, talking about the neighborhoods, and you know, part of the issue is infrastructure too, and maybe that's what he touched on.
So let me address the Gallatin Road issue.
Okay.
If you see a pothole anywhere in the city, call my office. We're going to contact Public Works, and we'll get them out there within 48 hours to fix it.
And I believe it. I've seen it done.
615-862-6000.
Okay.
And we'll take care of that. In regards to some of the other issues he brought up, Bishop Walker, I'm assuming he's talking about Bishop Joseph Walker at Mount Zion Baptist Church. Has been very involved in this conversation. He leads an organization called Nashville Unites, and he is going to help us to bring together interfaith leaders to really start to lead some of this dialogue within their congregations and their institutions, and take the conversation from these two events out into the community. And so we will be working with him to do that, and he is a great advocate for racial justice, and so we want to use his influence and his network to be able to do that. In regards to veterans, Mayor Berry is putting a lot of focus and attention on veterans, and she recently made several announcements this past spring about some of the services that we're going to put in place for veterans. She made Veterans Day a paid holiday for Metro government, but she's also cut the ribbon on some affordable housing projects strictly focused on veterans and housing veterans and housing homeless veterans. Patriots Place is the name of one that just comes to the top of my mind. So we're focused on it. Like I said, it's not a silver bullet. We're not going to be able to do it overnight. It's going to take time to really develop the amount of affordable housing we need for anyone in the city. We're not just talking veterans. We're talking firefighters, police. We're talking teachers that need affordable housing and can't afford to live in some neighborhoods in the community. And so when we talk about equity, and that's why I think it's important to keep bringing that word up. It's not just race, it's equity, because equity affects everyone. Right. And it could be classism, it could be socialism, it could be racism, whatever the prejudice is. Equity speaks to all of those, and we have to make sure that those opportunities.
So we should be clear, this meeting and the gathering Saturday and what it'll lead to is not just about one issue or one race. It's about all Nashvillians.
That's right.
And making it, as you said, the key word is equitable on a lot of different levels.
Yeah, it's a community effort. And I would say, as it relates to Tony's comments, it's a perfect example. He has exemplified the importance of having a variety of perspectives at the table. His perspective is that, you know,
we need Tony and Brian sitting next to each other because they have two different perspectives.
Absolutely, you know, and his perspective is kind of like we're potentially disconnected, which is why we are, which I would disagree with, but I think is important to have perspectives like his at the table so that we can ensure that we are intentionally connected and that we're hearing from people who have perspectives that are still valuable to this conversation. So I would encourage him to come out to September 10th.
Good, and we'll probably do another show. Yeah. Between then, you guys will come back and we'll do that before September 10th. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Let's go to Larry. Hi, Larry. Oh, wait, you know what? Before we take Larry, I apologize. We have to take a break. Larry, stay right there. We come back. More of your calls in our final segment right after this.